like one of those. Continue. Okay, continue. So anyway, here we are. I promise not to go more than an hour and 15 minutes. So I'm not going to go drive you crazy a little bit with everything, but we'll find out. And so then let me see. Do you have any specific questions that you would like to start? I like the meeting before that I like it because it's becoming more like a conversation between each other instead of me talking, right? So
Yes.
remind me that that's what we're doing. We're having a conversation instead of me talking about something and you listening. We are talking. So anyway, anybody is ready to go? You want a question? Zero question. Oh, yes.
Okay.
That's why Nancy is going to be the first question.
Okay, well, I am transcribing beauty, and I am loving transcribing beauty. I just think it's beautiful. It's very beautiful. Adds so much depth to beauty. And we've always had it, even in our consciousness of our evolutionary consciousness. Beauty has always been present. But there is an aspect of learning that I never associated really with beauty. But so it's a surprise to me. And I was going to just ask Christiam for just a little bit more in presence about it. And that is, you speak of the pyramids, that there are actually, the way I saw it, that it was written, and I'm not sure about all of that, but it looked like there's 3 pyramids. There's the pyramid of evolution, what we've had, and our complete separation with wholeness. Then there's the new consciousness pyramid that is nothing but the wholeness within wholeness with no separation, correct?
Yes.
But the 3rd pyramid that I'm speaking of, I guess you called it the relative pyramid. The relative pyramid that is experiencing moments and research and search for wholeness and within wholeness, consciously searching for it, and yet living in the life of the evolutionary consciousness. So it was sort of a pyramid that was half and half, and still may be going on for many people, just as they're learning more and more about the reality that who we are as whole, with this wholeness, within wholeness, a field that has no place, quantum entanglement, or all of it, for any kind of separation. And yet, there's a process that maybe, we kind of.
I thought it was interesting because I was reading.
Fall back.
Go ahead.
On that.
I was reading. I was just reading the 9th dimension, and you talk a little bit about something like that, which is the fact that we have, our linear life alongside our whole, the new consciousness, and that they're both valid in that way, but so you're not saying one is better or worse or whatever, or there's not a progression in a way, but anyway, that was
that they are existing within the same field. That's what you mean, right? That existing within the same field.
Yeah.
So Nancy, I don't know, because I don't remember the pyramids in that sense, But since you brought it, and maybe I clarify it a little bit, the idea of beauty.
That's all I'm asking for
clarification of the
I
beauty.
don't think there's three pyramids in reality. I think that you expressed it as a relative state in with someone with wholeness. I'd have to find it for you.
Yeah.
I'll find it for you.
So make it simple. Beauty, it is a dimension, and when it's a dimension, it means that it's absolute, and that each of the dimensions shall contain the other 9, actually the 10, because the other 9 plus the dimension itself make the wholeness with each of the dimensions. So then it's safe to say that beauty is all there is. Just as we say that it's safe to see the balance and all the rest, the present. Each of the dimensions are all there is, because it is the whole field of consciousness as it sees from this perspective. But its perspective encompasses all things. So it's good to understand that, number one, that so beauty, for example, it is absolute. It is all there is within the new consciousness. And beauty is a muse that I said to you. And then Nancy mentioned that beauty is very much a part of our evolutionary consciousness, because through the whole time of evolution, we worship beauty, just as we worship love and we worship everything. But beauty was one of the most desirable things. And sometimes beauty got acknowledged to be like a beautiful object, a beautiful piece of art, a beautiful something that has to do with the senses. But then in other times, beauty became in a state of consciousness for ourselves, in which we went into different stages of ecstasy. It can be ecstatic religious, it can be ecstatic out of love, it can be ecstatic form out of you experience an opening of your heart. It can be ecstatic as you see in a sunset. It can be many moments in our life, and in the evolutionary existence, do we have contact with beauty? And it became the most desirable place within our consciousness. But then always it existed as one aspect, beauty. And many times, even in the great picture of the spiritual world, beauty sometimes it was considered to be like a sort of an enticement, that you can lose yourself in the realms of beauty. It never was true. But anyway, beauty is a muse, but it exists as that part of ourselves in our human memory that self-contain all the beautiful moments that we cherish within our sense of self. But now, that's what we do. We love things that they are beautiful, and they have different forms for each of us. Because for certain people, what is beautiful in the evolutionary nature, it is not beautiful for other people, because the color is not good, or the structure, or because whatever. It is all relative. Beauty was relative into the eye of the beholder, right? In the evolutionary consciousness. And in the reality itself, into the new consciousness, beauty is all there is. So it's not relative. It's the main attribute, if you may, that it encompasses the conceptual nature, the emotional nature, and the physical nature as we live it every single moment. So beauty becomes a fantastic, fantastic experience. So we are all enhanced now inside of the realms of beauty. We are all experiencing more and more and more beauty all the time. And in the way that they translate to the senses sometimes goes to an intellectual perception of form and structure and so forth. Sometimes just goes into a feeling, overwhelming feeling of love, or overwhelming feeling of connection to something that is larger than the way we used to feel it. And sometimes beauty becomes a sense of self that we are coming into correspondence with, because we are the source of beauty and the totality of it. In the linear consciousness, beauty is relative to what we experience and blah, blah, blah. And somebody tell you are beautiful, we say, no, I'm not beautiful. We all have different ideas what beauty is inside of that world. But in reality, we are beauty itself in the real consciousness, because we are a supreme experience of an absolute being that have no other in the planet like us. And we are the self itself. So as we're becoming more consciousness, we are becoming beautiful, Not because we may look more beautiful and everything, but not because it is an idea or look how I look, is that the beauty is nothing other than the natural expression of the self in us with capital S. So it is, we are the beauty itself. And beauty is the part of ourselves that arises when we constantly connect with something in which we are not observing it only, but we are coming into correspondence with whatever thing that we see. So it is I don't want to use the word transcendental because it sounds like a larger than that, but it's a way that we can connect with everything in a new way, because the consciousness that we are coming into correspondence is a new way of light. The light that we see is transcribed in another way to our consciousness. So our consciousness is constantly showing us the beauty of everything that exists. Yeah. So
I feel like that happens to me when I see my granddaughter,
yeah.
my little granddaughter. It's like an explosion with me, almost. Now I know I sound like a grandmother.
Well, you are.
But this, I know I am, but I mean, it's a big, big deal. It's a big.
But it's a big deal because, you know, you be transcended by your grandchildren. You get transcended by your children because they are the continuity of your being in some ways. With all the beauty of your being gets translated, they are going to be the ones who are going to carry on inside the story, but also represents a reflection of you that is absolutely pure, innocent, that is coming into life right now, maybe with much more information than we did when we were children, and it's become more alive. So you get to experience the aliveness of your own being through your grandchildren. And if you remember that you are the grandchildren, that you are not just only loving your grandchildren, that will help you, because then you can connect to the energy that you're experiencing then, not to make it less or anything, but you can connect it as your energy. The connection that you call your love is your energy as it gets reflected through the being that you are in front of you. So your children are the closest approximation of that reality, because they have no agenda other than showing you what they expect from life, which is the magic, attention, love, and power, beauty, all the things that correspond for beauty are the grandchildren. Yeah. So it's a natural feeling that it's good for recognize, but you have to remember all the time, if it's possible, that the grandchildren is the part of you that is becoming alive in the moment to show you how alive you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise the complexity is that you may innocently retreat back and then you create like a fan reaction, and then they're my grandchildren and I'm here. And then when you do that innocently, you're becoming older by the very innocent form of not understanding that the children is the youth of you. The grandchildren is the youth of you. So just
I'll take
use
it.
them.
I'll take it.
Use them.
I'll take it any day.
I'm sorry?
I'll take that kind of.
I'll
take that vision any day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a great vision.
Yeah,
no, it's true.
Yeah. So anyway, completing the third aspect of beauty. Beauty is we have the memory of beauty because the entire evolutionary nature, we carry genetically the remembrance in ourselves of those moments in beauty that exist within our genetics, that they were transcendental moments. What is called a religious experience is an expression of beauty and so forth. So then, in the larger picture, the beauty is all there is. We are experiencing a larger perception of beauty because our brain, being interconnected with everything now, is reflecting things in their essence, not the way they just look like or the wonderful structure. They have a story within them that reflects our essential perception, understanding, and feeling of beauty. So they are awakened within us, again, the part that we are. So the same as the grandchildren. The grandchildren is reflecting the youth, the beauty reflects the light. And then just to complete, the third part of beauty is you, when you understand that life is a reflection of two things, always reflected in relation to you. And the beauty that you are as an essence is the the embodiment of God's self within you, or the embodiment of self within you, inside of a different story that is so vast in its cosmicity that you can begin to have access to it in order to replenish the ancient story of our human story. Because our human story has repeated itself for thousands and thousands and thousands. We have been going around and around and around and around and around forever, repeating the story, trying to uplift it, and eventually to unite. Now that we are inside of the real story has three aspects of beauty. Your human remembrance of beauty, which is beautiful. The universal aspect is beautiful. That is, oh my God, it's so vast that it's almost impossible to imagine. And then the third one, which is you, the cosmic being, the self now, it existing inside of that triad of beauty. And I'll suggest that you spend time in the third one as well, because the third one is the part of you that is already realized completely. It's not in any process, yeah? What I mean by that is not in any process. It is experience the perfection of its own nature. Okay, we can hold on a moment. Yeah. Cynthia, we are here with you. Hold on a second.
Okay, and the next one.
I don't know.
Let's connect.
Sound is coming from, but it's-
Cynthia Divine Grace. Grace Divine.
Yes.
He is here. Okay, woohoo.
We have a square.
All right.
So
So
when we're waiting for her, are we clear about this? Yeah. The three aspects of beauty. Yeah. Lois, yes.
So are all transcendent experiences in the realm of beauty?
All
Only in a
transcendent
dimension of beauty?
experience are in the realms of beauty. And some of them are very uncomfortable. Because remember that people who take drugs sometimes, the first thing place will be to expand the mind. But sometimes when you have a bad trip, it's a reflection of the complexity of the psychic. But it's always beautiful because it always implies in some degree that it advances our form of comprehension of self. I wouldn't suggest that because we remember that now we don't need drugs anymore because we are in the drug itself. Yeah. So then, but it's good to understand that the states in which we experience beauty, when anybody drinks a glass of wine, it changes, right? For most of the people, they change it. And the moment that they drink a glass of wine, which is a substance that alter the nervous system and the mind, the person immediately relaxes. And when the person relaxes, the first impression is to, oh, I'm here now, and I'm experiencing myself instead of being inside of my head. So when you experience yourself, you get to taste the food much better and say, oh, I love you. Do you need something? You know, it becomes intimate. That's when we are more or less consciously present inside of our own unfolding. For other people, it awakens a lot of tension and pressure because innocently they have to release certain things, and that can become a complex thing. So anyway, beauty is all experiences of religious experience are beautiful. All experiences of science, eureka experience are beautiful. All experience of human understanding food is beautiful. Remember that the masters, whatever the Indian masters, they told us that every single vertebra within the spine and each of the 7 centers has a corresponding taste inside of their palate.
Oh.
So that's another form of beauty, that whatever that you taste, it explodes the mind into endless explosions of perfection and beauty that you get to experience a physical pleasure. That is fantastic. So that's it. So that it answers your question, Lois, about beauty being a transcendental experience. All transcendental experiences are beautiful. Yeah. Yes. So then, yeah, go ahead.
Do you want to go to the 7 super universes and talk about that for a minute?
We can go for a little bit. You want me to talk a little bit? It's something delicate to talk about it because I do not want to engage you into something that all of a sudden your mind is going to trying to go away from you instead of being here with us. But the 7 super universes, remember that I said to you that when we merge in the harmonic conversions, it wasn't just that the human experience attain or arrive to all the components that was going to correspond to his merging. Yeah. So then, and remember that the last component that we were wondering if it was quantum entanglement, because quantum entanglement was a way in which we discover what the spiritual preaching has long forever talked about unity, that quantum entanglement and science tell it, oh, unity it is. It is actually the very nature of the universe itself, in which everything is simultaneous with itself. That is not subject to a linear form of for a space, interpretation, location, not linear anymore. They were all in one field, and the scientists didn't know what to do. So what I'm saying is that our natural graduation into the moment of unity was a natural unfolding of our consciousness that very possibly brought it about, but I don't know, because it sounds like aggrandizing. It brought about the natural interconnection with the harmonic conversions, the celestial alignment that produces a moment of union between the human experience and the universal experience, because it was a celestial alignment that refocused itself and emerged into the third instant that became the moment of union. Now, the moment of union in relation to the celestial alignment was an arrangement of the cosmos that interconnected the 7 super universes, which are nothing other than 7 expressions, universal expressions, that became created through the entire process of our human evolution, from the Darwinian theory, from the species, until now, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, the universe from the Big Bang have created this event of the 7 super universes, which are fractal versions of the tree of life. Every super universe is a gigantic tree of life. Because remember that the tree of life within ourselves, it is actually the original imprint of wholeness that we as humans have set in time that reflected the image and the likeness of God. That means that it reflected within itself the consciousness, the emotional feeling or the energy, and then the physical reality of God simultaneously as one in the garden. And it got preserved forever in time until the moment that we can understand that the tree of life was actually our communion with 3 dimensions that corresponded to a completely different field of energy that no longer function inside of the dualistic systems of consciousness, but it functions inside of a new paradigm in which consciousness is inside of unity. So the 7 super universes before our human union with the moment of harmonic conversions, they were experiences as one, also as well, through their own existence, a separation from unity. I don't know if I tell you the story, but when I have, remember that I told you a little bit the story about me connecting to the being that seemingly corresponded to my other half, or it was a helper, into the edge of the universe. The edge of the universe was called in Nevadon. It's a particular part within the universe, the universe itself. Just like we have in America, we have Texas and the super universe. They have at the edge of the universe a person, something called Nevadon. Mm-hmm. So anyway, what I was told was that they, inside of their existence as a universal intelligence, were also separated from the reality of wholeness. It says to me, when I remember, it says to me, for you, it's a big deal because your separation of wholeness is very large, because you, as human, you are very much in delay of reality itself, because everything was so linear, and because everything has cemented itself in many belief systems, they keep keeping the things immovable inside of their own system. But they were very, very refined, very, very refined. But he said the refinement of the separation from the wholeness was much more painful in the little bitty of separation that for us, that we were so separated that we didn't feel anything. So what it was telling me was that they were waiting for us to really speed up the process. So that's the reason we connected, to speed up the process, if we may, in order to be able to get to the moment in which they can transcend and we can transcend. But it wasn't that they will transcend and then we will transcend, or that we will transcend and they will transcend. It was a natural simultaneous gathering that it was predicted before the moment, even in the garden, in which the tree of life became covered with the tree of good and evil. So the entire process of evolution was the unfolding of the mind in order to comprehend the field of unity that existed within the tree before it was separated from the totality of itself. So the 7 super universes became simultaneous with the human experience. And that's the way we connected all together into what I said to you was the grand universe, in which unity for the first time was not relative to where you were, but it was one system of consciousness that it was all permeating. So it was universal for the first time, because the definition of the universe is one. So what it means is that for the first time, we humans and the 7 super universes were inside of unity. So that is the reason now that we're getting a lot of intelligence from the 7 super universes and from everything, because we are united within a field that is no longer subject to distant time and location. So it's not inside of our gradual mind that it thinks as levels of consciousness, of levels of anything. It's all permeating. So it's almost difficult. It's difficult to imagine, because remember that in our entire mind of our human experience was made up inside of the realms of linear process. So for us, we can understand something, but then what we're talking about is not only the understanding of something, it's our connection to the vibratory experience of that actual essence. So unity, for example, it is not all together now, as we said. It's actually a vibratory experience in which everything is ever present within the moment of life, from which then I am also ever present within the moment of life. So the self within me have re-encountered the moment of creation that corresponded as it always was, or it always will be, before the beginnings of the evolutionary unfolding. We have completed the evolutionary unfolding. So we enter the essence of that. So the 7 super universes are in reality the 7 centers that exist within the tree of life. And there are polarities of it, balanced polarities. You know, the first balanced polarity is right and the left in the center of the head, which is called awareness. Conceptual unity, which is a form of ecstasy of the mind, understanding unity itself. Then the second cross within the tree of life is energy, feeling, the heart, which is the balance of the right and the left inside of the realms of essence, or love itself. Because remember that in evolution, love was relative. I love you today, but I'm not sure about tomorrow. So what we're talking about is an act of love that is not subject, like unity, to an interpretation of intellect. It's actually a field that is extraordinary, so overpowering and fantastic, that we can only have a small access of it. Because if we have a lot of momentarily, we will have a heart attack. We will not be able to be alive because it's so much. Remember that in the past, the people who went into ecstasy only last for a certain amount of time. When I went for the first time into ecstasy, only lasted an hour. So I recognized, I didn't know why, but I took myself out of the experience because I thought that I was going to get a heart attack. My nervous system could not support it. I became so agitated by that experience and so overwhelmed that I felt like if I don't stop, I'm just going to create my own demise. So I create fear by thinking like that, and I was taken away from the experience. But I know now that that energy, like unity or love, is ever present. So we are inside of this field that it is not subject to intellectual comprehension. It is subject now for ourselves to the actual experience from which the intellectual comprehension become the full seeing of the experience itself. So when the intellectual comprehension goes through the experience and understand that experience from the experience, then it becomes eternal, it becomes forever. Because the intellect, without the actual experience of it, it only has certain moments that it become prevalent in the moment, but then you get up in the next moment, the next morning, then you don't have it anymore. You know, you forget, you know, we forget. So then we go back again and we get it, we read a book or we read an affirmation and we do that and we return, but we are not living in the field yet. Whenever we have to really go into something external to remember the field, it is wonderful, but you must remember that that is not the experience. The experience is actually the living within the field that it became available when the tree of life, which is a fractal version of the universe, became present in the ultimate reality. Ultimate reality for us is called immanent reality. Remember that immanent reality is different because in the Buddhist tradition, ultimate reality was considered to be something that eventually we all will come into presence with. So it was a lovely statement, a true statement. But the problem is that projected time. Yeah. So then the reason that ultimate reality became immanent reality, because immanent reality is ever present. And ultimate reality is something that you project into space outside of you into a distance. And when you do that, you innocently don't have access to the experience because the experience can only occur in the presence of yourself in the moment itself. The moment is the entire field of that union, connection experience. Yeah. So that's true with unity, that's true with love, and that's true with physical reality. Physical reality, for the first time, we are inside of reality. It's fantastic, but it's the moment of physical existence. It doesn't contain just only what we experience in the moment. It shall contain the whole scenario of universal consciousness that allow us to live there in the present moment, but also in the whole field of mind, feeling, and action existing within the present moment. So it's another human, another interpretation of our humanity. We are what it was promised. We are the reinstatement of human to the natural reflection of being the light of the world, being the light that we see. You know, it's nothing other the actual coming into being of that which it was promised, and here we are. Yeah.
So I think Cynthia Grace had her hand up. Go ahead, you have to unmute Cynthia.
So if I answer a little bit about the seven super universe, is fractal, is in the physical body, are the seven center, it is what we call the center of the matrix of balance. And without the tree of life, you won't have the sphere of life. Without the tree of life, you don't have the sphere of life, because the tree of life is the natural representation of the spherical connection to infinite space. Yeah, the 3 dimensions. So that without the tree of life, 3 dimensions doesn't exist. It's a concept. And without the sphere of life, the fountain of life doesn't exist. It's a concept. You don't get to really understand and feel and experience the fountain that is always present. We are feeling it. Each of us now are feeling it in some way because it's ever present. But remember that what we're talking about in our conversations, in our sharing, in everything, is that we wanted to be the recipients of the whole understanding of this essence. And that's something that is only come from you, because I can't really understand in your head. So I'm only interdependent and being the, doing the best I can in relation to words or whatever, and then find out where you are and the questions or whatever. So guiding you to become free from the teeter-totter between the evolutionary coming into this other world and then expanding the other world. If that happens, it's okay too, because one creates the solace in relation to the one that is very stressful. Yeah, that's the reason they created all the meditation and all the books and all the religious studies and everything. It was in order to be able to find some form of solace in the physical world. Mm-hmm. But remember that now we are in the physical world inside of that experience. So everything that it was useful now became the golden mean, because it became the actual essence that produced the experience, and it took us away from the conceptual projection. We are not in a conceptual projection. Yeah? Okay, I'm sorry. Are we doing good?
And that's okay. I think Cynthia Grace had her hand up a while back, and I don't know if you remember what you were.
Oh, fantastic. Cynthia Grace, divine Cynthia Grace.
Hi, how are
Hi,
you?
darling, we miss you. We would like to see your beauty and extreme.
Okay, well, I had to work, and then I come running in with dinner for the family, and then trying to get all connected here.
It's all right, I'm kidding.
I didn't want to eat in front of you, so.
Oh, it doesn't matter. We love them. We love you anyway. But anyways, I'm sure that you have any questions for us, or many questions.
Okay, so the first I'm going to start with the definition of transcend, right? Transcend is a verb, right? Surpass, it says a person or achievement. Be or go beyond the range of limits of something abstract.
Okay, can you read us for us again so we can all be together with your words? Are you reading us? Or
yeah, I'm reading like the definitions, right? So and then it says typically a conceptual field of division.
Technically, say that again. Technically what? A concept. Can you say it again?
Yeah, can you do the whole definition again? Because we missed the beginning of it. She's gone.
Transcendence.
Transcend.
Okay. It will come.
Okay.
It will come. It will come back.
And was there another question? I think Beverly. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Christian.
Okay. Can I tell you one paragraph about the transcendence since we just started? So transcendence in the past was used as something that you transcend and you bypass it into another realm. Yeah. Now, what we're talking about transcendence is that we are no longer subject to the very principles or forms that they were possessing our consciousness. So we are in a state of transcendence constantly now, the new consciousness, because we are inside of a whole field. We are no longer in relation to something to be transcended or not transcended. So transcendent in the new understanding is nothing other than having no limits that restricts our consciousness from the experience of unity. Yeah, okay. Transcendence, it's a lovely word. Yeah, you're transcending everything. Yeah, your beauty is transcendence.
So. Amazingly so, you answered the question before I even asked it. But the question I wrote was, are we living in the field now, and are you in the field?
Yes, definitely. We are living in the field, all of us, and I am in the field. I took the responsibility to live in the field. Well, I had to do it because what happens to me is that I wanted from the beginning, since I was a child, to connect to the field, and I was preparing all my life to connect to the field. And when I connect to the field 30 years ago, I did it. I knew what it was, a new consciousness, but I don't know what that was. Because it wasn't a conceptual idea.
So
then, go ahead. Then
so
in time to make it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
My question. So living in the field and feeling the field and feeling transcendence, if you want to use that word.
Yeah, put it that way.
When I am not against, but in a realm where others are not in the field or not in the sense, it feels almost like an agitation. And it's like, I want to run or get away or get sucked into something, and again, how can you live in such a peaceful field and then be so it's the feeling. It's the feeling of the differences
Yes.
that causes this agitation. And,
Yes.
and how do you get through that piece of
Okay.
it?
All right. So then I think that to give you like I'm going to be like a little what was the word, the lady who really, Dear Abby. Here I'm going to be Dear Abby. Just a little bit, just simple, make it simple. So then it is true that that was true with our evolutionary nature. In our evolution, when we were in the family, everybody was going in another world. So we learned all 1,000 ways to disconnect in order to be able to be with each other. Yeah. So then now in transcendence, is the most important thing to understand that in the new consciousness, you are having access to a part of you or to an essence in you that is transcendence in the sense that it is the creative existence of the new world. It is not the perceptive state in which the world is functioning. You are the creative existence of the new world. You are not the perceptive awareness of how the world is functioning. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to put the glasses and you're not going to see anything. It just means that once you recognize that you are the perfected, you are the natural creation of the new world, everything that you see, you will understand it. So you will understand why people are behaving that way or whatever it is, but you don't have to pay attention to it because you are their change. You are not the way to perceive it the way they are. You are their transformation. And that sounds like a long thing because your mind has to go blah, 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 blah. No, it's automatic, instantaneous. The new consciousness is the Messiah, if you wanted to put it that way. It's the you and the Messiah. It is the Buddha in you, it's the Christ in you. But it is actually, those are the images of you. The real you is really actually much larger than those. Yeah, because those are the memories of our consciousness from the past. You are the fulfillment of all those memories. So you are, as you come into corresponding with the new consciousness, you begin to understand that it's your nature to live in a field that you transform everything by the very natural form of living that you are. Not because you're a good person. So it requires a little bit of work in you, because if you're trying to get points by behaving that way, you're out to lunch. Well, because you are really actually, not really actually be able to do it. You can't do it. You may get points in you because you sleep better, but in the next day, you're going to have the same reflection with another person. So the most important, yeah. So you understand this. This is a very delicate thing, what I'm telling you, but it's not something that you have to do it by yourself, because if you're doing it by yourself, you are not going to make it. I'm telling you right now, you are not going to make it. The only reason that you do it, that you can do it, is because the consciousness isn't here. So the consciousness is actually the whole field that allows you to be able to, in one instant, become free from hundreds and hundreds of years of confusion in your consciousness. So then once you understand that you are inside of the consciousness, you get free by that understanding of the personality within you. The personality within us is complex because we're all kind of dorky inside of the personality, because we are quiet in the personality inside of the realms of evolution. So we all have, like, I don't like it right now, I don't feel good, today I'm not clear, blah, 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 I feel great right now, but I don't want to talk to you about it, blah, blah, blah. So we have all those moods that associate with our personality. That is not our personality. That is the story from which we have based our personality inside of the paradigm of consciousness that it was in our evolutionary unfolding. So inside of that paradigm, what we call the ego is a contraction of ourselves, thinking that we are the very thing that we are feeling, when the reality that is not true. We are not that. We are much larger. Not larger is not the word. We are more essential than that.
When you say don't try to do it alone, actually, there are times that I feel like I'm walking with angels or something, you know,
Yes,
angels or
absolutely.
helpers or whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's times that I'll say to myself, where's this blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden it's there,
They come
you
in.
know, but then there's other times I'm just out to lunch and I can't figure out what I do some days that make it beautifully easy. And then some days I say, well, now what the heck did I do that for? You know what I mean?
I understand. Yeah. I think that the quickest way to remember that you can bring yourself to the moment, because whenever you feel in any degree overwhelmed about anything, you are maybe like 20 frames outside of the moment itself. Means that your mind is going inside of its own form and you lost the moment. You lost the connection to the moment, which is the field, which is the daksha, whatever you want to call it, is the thing. So at any one moment, you can bring yourself in it, even if in the moment it seems like a little fake, because said, well, I can't just go be there and also, yeah, jump in. And then know that the moment will take you in her arms or his arms, and then you're going to be fine, you know, and then that's it. You relent, you put yourself in, okay, I am in the moment now, because the moment function in a totally different rhythm that the mind that we're coming from, because the mind that we're coming from is either going too fast because it's constantly controlling the moment, or it's either going too slow because it has so much innocently pain and density within itself that is going like up the mountain every single moment. Yeah, we're going on the two extremes. Yeah, we were just like, so now as we understand that the reality itself is actually the union of all that, and you are always present and everything is you are with it, you can bring yourself to the moment very quickly. Yeah, very, very.
That is so enlightening. I really appreciated that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, it's very important. The new consciousness, there is only one thing that is going to demand from you, because it doesn't demand everything, it's that it is. But in its isness, it will demand that you really have access to your intelligence. Because the new consciousness is 100% intelligent, means that it has reason for everything. It doesn't make us, it doesn't have, everything has its own reason, it's perfect. And the new consciousness is 100% love because it doesn't switch. And then it's 100% physical because it lives within the moment. So you understand that. So then once you understand that, you can bring yourself to it, but it will demand that if you get dorky and you send that when you feel in any degree that you are not overwhelming, it's because you became dorky momentarily. And then you are inside of this world. You enter this sort of a innocent, the pool that has took you back into a removal of your being, and then you are in the free worlds trying to make sense how you come back. But now you know the free worlds are here, you're already connected, and just go. Yeah, that's beautiful.
I love it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, wonderful, wonderful.
So Christian, I'd like to ask you this question, right? About my perception of what I'm hearing, all right? So my perception of what I am hearing and trying to understand is the new field of consciousness is spiritual, non-physical. So we actually in the new field of consciousness aren't transcending. We are actually living in the field of the new consciousness. So we're not transcending. We are just living in the element of essence. Is that correct?
Absolutely, 100% correct.
Okay, I just needed to get the whole thing out. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. But I wanted to add just a little thing.
Didn't she say it's non-physical? She said it was non-physical. What does that mean?
Well, no.
Non-physical.
Say that again. Sorry, darling. Can you go back again? Can you? I'm telling us to what to say.
The field of new consciousness is spiritual or non-physical. It's.
You mean it's not divided between one and the other? It's just
right.
It's united.
Okay.
But definitely, remember with the words. You have to be careful because the spiritual was the part that always was divided between the spiritual and the physical. Remember in evolution, we call the physical to be the sort of a samsara, that we are just so in the physical world and doing everything so fast. And then the spirit was the place that we're going into the mountain, on Mani Padme Om, and blah, 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 blah. You know, we did all those things and all those things. Now, remember that now the spiritual and the physical and the illuminated, if it is consciousness, right? Consciousness, spiritual is love, and physical is the physical form, the physical world, right? The spiritual, which is the love, the physical world, and the great intellect, which is the access to our real reason and consciousness, are all one. Mm-hmm. So they disappear as a separation. So that's the reason that you say there is a spiritual and non-physical, is that the spiritual, the physical and the conceptually brilliant, which is the true consciousness, became one unity. And in the unity, it transposed the linear interpretation, the conceptual interpretation that we have, or the momentary interpretation that we had in time, and put it into a new field that is constant. It means that it is the natural existence of ourselves for the first time. So it's not subject to us learning it. We are inside of it. And in the process that we become more united, we understand why when we talk about the spirit, we say we are the fulfillment of the spirit. So because the spirit innocently was divided as well. Remember, the spirit created thousands and thousands of higher planes, from which, you know, samadhi and all those places that we get, in order to be able to create a scenario that will assist us to think or realize that we were escalating the ladder of consciousness in order to become ourselves. All that was true inside of the paradigm, the linear paradigm, was relative true, because that's the way we evolve it, but it's not true in the new paradigm. We are already inside of the total zenith of our consciousness.
So my
ahead,
perception is that unity is interconnecting us to harmony.
Unity is in connecting us to harmony. Absolutely. Because the harmony is the relationship of unity. Right? Harmony is the relationship, just like the tree of the matrix of balance is the relationship that manifests unity, which is the center of the tree of life, and all the things that we study in unity and motion. So the harmony is the relationship of everything, which is one with unity. Unity is harmony, and harmony is unity. Yeah, because harmony will be total harmony and unity, right? Unity will have total harmony. Yeah, well, you can't have unity and disharmony. Yeah,
well, it makes me, I'm going to make you giggle, but it makes me think of that Avatar movie, because it was the tree of life. And the tree of life kept everything connected.
Exactly.
If you remember that movie.
Exactly. That's the reason that our forefathers said all the time, and it's a story, that the tree of life was kept forever present within the realms of time till the moment that we can inhabit it again, which it already happened, and in which we will understand the state of consciousness, the state of energy, and the state of representation of physical reality, that it was reality itself as it was in the garden. But this time, in the new garden, which is the planet Earth, as it connected simultaneously with all the gardens, and existing in a greater field that is called universe, which we are beginning to discover, feel, and experience the extraordinary essence of our human self. Because if it is true, which I know for sure it is, but I tell you, if it is true that we are God, yeah, that we are one with God, we are just beginning to experience anything. You know, we were in kindergarten, and during the millions of years that we were in evolution, right? Because God is the totality of everything, the perfection of everything, the beauty of everything. So can you imagine and to what degree you would allow yourself to open yourself to the consciousness so you can begin to experience it without freaking out. Yeah, because the mind was not made to be inside of that. Well, it was originally holographically, it was made to be with that. But the interpretation that we created of time created an enormous amount of compartmentalization inside of the sphere of the mind. And each stages of compartmentalization inside of the sphere of mind created the concreteness of certain beliefs. You know, concreteness like a religion and belief, you know, or many, many things that we created. I couldn't say because it sounded like, so the concreteness manifested the physical formation that we call the body. And the problem is that the real body that we have is really fluid. It doesn't have concreteness within itself. It's a merging between form, and then if you want to use concreteness, you can say, okay, concreteness, energy, and space. Yeah. So then concreteness doesn't feel like cement. But you can say that, you can see in many of us innocently humans that we are like cement. You know, no. No. So there is nothing more powerful than the mind, they said. In time, we say that. There is nothing more powerful than a human mind, because when the human mind becomes concrete, there is no way that you can pass through ever. It will be always no. You know, you can see it now with the vaccines and everything. You know, they're saying, no, I don't want it, blah, 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 blah. And you don't even have reason why or whatever. It's just the concreteness of the physiological formation in which the body have taken control. But the problem, that when the body took control in the concreteness of its experience, it began to manifest endless disease. Because disease means nothing other than the fluidity has been taken away and everything has become like an obstacle to the life force. But we didn't know it. It was just innocent. So we created 1,000 pills in order to be able to fix something. But then when you have a pill doing something, it ruins something else, you know, a little bit, you know. So but it's natural. We didn't know that was so. But anyway, so what is important to understand that we are becoming translucent, transparent, physiologically fluid, because the entire molecular structure of the physical body, it is a fractal formation of the tree of life. The smallest particle to the universe, to the physical body, it is the tree of life individually. And they are all becoming free because the consciousness is here. So in reality, you are in the total completion of your cosmic voyage already. I am in the presence of the total completion of the not the completion of my human consciousness, the completion of my cosmic voyage too, because in reality itself, which is quantum entanglement that we call, everything is present. What we call millions of years ago, it existed now here too. It's not there. You know what I mean? It's not there as a place in relation to here. It's a one field. So what that means is that we are the very presence of our complete fulfilled self. Fulfilled self. So it's complex a little bit because we don't have enough time to spend all day long thinking in my fulfillment. We'll not do anything. You know what I mean? Because every single moment is the fulfillment. And in the physical world they will live, you have to get up, make the house, buy the market, blah, 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 get your children, buy clothes, cut your nails, trying to practice, non-practice, you know, go to hell and come back here, you know, all of it, thousand things. But we can understand that as you, in any degree you're still involved in that, remember that you are this other being that is already completed. So just connect to it. So then the one that has to do all those things, because there's nothing you can do about it, you got to do it, because in certain way, that's the agreement that we created. Yeah, in your agreement, you have to pay the rent, you have to take your children out, you know, you have to do all those things that they are part of the consciousness of agreement of our human existence. But you don't need in any degree to be innocently, a victim of it, because in any degree that you are a victim of it, you are not assisting everything else to become free. You keep them in the same place. So it's a delicate place, but you have the intelligence to comprehend it. That's the most important thing. That you have to really allow yourself to say, okay, I'm the most intelligent being in the entire world. Go to bed, tomorrow you'll find that. And it's not going to come in that you carry in a library around or anything like that. It's that whatever you need, your consciousness will take you to it. You know,
So, Christian,
yeah, yeah, go ahead, darling.
so I got this weird question, all right? So when I look at the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? And there's a statement in there where, quote, it's supposed to be of Jesus, right? But he was saying the kingdom of God lives within you. I think that the consciousness was always there. They just couldn't understand or even conceptualize it in their minds. And now we can.
Yeah, you couldn't comprehend the totality of what it meant.
Yeah, and so now we can see that the kingdom of God is within us. Those words were real. It's just they just didn't know how to perceive them or live it, or the essence of it. It's been there all the time, hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, because in reality, our consciousness playing continuously teeter-totter with the reality itself, because remember that we were always in the duality means that coming and going and coming and going. We never really actually present, completely consciously present. So if we were not consciously present, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's just a saying that you can feel it, experience it, but then the next moment you get up and fight with somebody. You know what I mean? You got to go to church to take the commandment in order to become free from the sins that you just did, knowing that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So what I'm trying to tell you is that we are, and that's the reason that it's important to understand the new consciousness all the time. The new consciousness is so important because the new consciousness is the kingdom of heaven. So if you connect to the kingdom of heaven right now, always the kingdom of heaven is ever present. It's not a place that you're going to go. It's not going to a place that is going to come. Yeah. So we are in it. The kingdom of heaven is really you. It's the actual beating of your heart. It's actually the reason of your consciousness, comprehending unity. It's the natural state of being that you are for the first time or connected to the original imprint. You are the natural personification of being one with God, in which you and God disappear as ideas. Because God is an idea, right? God is an idea that we got it through time in order to assist us to understand that God, if it's ever present, if it's you are the present, God is the dimension in which you are existing in the realms of unity. And we call it the divine. Remember in unity, we call it the divine because it is the divine within unity and motion expresses that it is the sifter, the system that allow us to constantly become free from the idea of an external separation from the source. Because we are innocently carrying the memory of the separation from the source. So we created a God outside of ourselves. And then the God, we coated the God with the values that corresponded to our fear. We coated God with the values that corresponded to our fear. So then there was a part of ourselves that even in evolution, like I understood when I was 18 years old, that God could never be, could never be relative. It could never be relative. It could never be dualistic. Right? Because my mind came to me and I said, God could never be dualistic. And I said, what do you mean? And I said, well, God can never be dualistic because if he got to be dualistic, somebody else has to be the God that corresponded to the dualistic idea. Yeah, because if a God is all thing, how are you going to be dualistic? Yeah. So the idea of God being a dualistic is a misinterpretation of the consciousness. They created a God of cause and effect and then coated with thousands of projections in order to remain separated from the source itself. He was innocent, but at the same time, maybe fearful. Who knows?
Well, you know
But,
what,
yeah.
Christian, that sounds like being subservient.
I'm sorry, darling, say that again.
I said, when you view God in that sense, right, then you're a servant. You're being subservient. You're a whole person, right? You're part of God.
Yeah. But I mean, remember that the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, inside of the essential sort of a projection of the religious aspect of Christianity, is a one. It's not like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Remember that the holy mystery is that the three aspects of it are essentially individual and at the same time a whole.
Trinity, yeah, it
So-
says that the Trinity, and then you have transcendentalization. When they come together at the service, they become one.
Exactly. So what that means
Okay.
is that each of I am the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But
All in one.
all
in
at
one,
once.
yeah.
And the oneness,
Instantaneously, yeah.
in the oneness, in me, that is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, is the self, Christian,
Yeah.
me.
Yep.
Yeah. In which God is not separated as a force outside of me. It is actually me. Because if God is separated in any degree outside of me, I give it quantitative power to decide if I'm good or not bad, I did good, blah, 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 blah. You know, it is all a God that corresponded to a mirror reflection of your own behavior.
I hear
A
you.
God that corresponded to the mirror reflection of your own behavior. That means judgment. God could never be a mirror reflection of my own behavior because it is the essence of my behavior. My real behavior, not the one that's going, oh, I'm good and bad, blah, 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 blah. So the God that we are, the presence of, is ever present. It's a new consciousness. It is the most natural state of existence because we were created with that holographic imprint inside of ourselves. So if you remember just momentarily or as much as possible that the covering of the tree of life inside of the story was that we have to discover through our own effort and through the bread of every day, the labor of every day, all the components that corresponded to that which we always had and we have not accessed from the moment that we said, I wanted to discover by myself. And the moment that I said that, I became like, we became individualistically projected into creation. But in the reality, when we come back home, I always had it. And the God that I always was and I will always will be, have gave me everything. I am the eternal Son inside, like you're the eternal Son. I'm the eternal Son. He gave me everything. The treasures that the story that Christ brought about the eternal Son coming, the prodigal son coming to pick up the father. And I said, Father, you gave me $10,000 and I spend it all around and I have nothing to give. And then the brother said, oh, you're going to give it the kingdom now, even though he spent all the money. And the father said, you are my dear son, and this is your home. So, what the story was telling in a very simplistic form is that the God that we're talking about will never, ever, ever, ever test you. Because if a God that we're talking about have 1 degree of testing you, he will not be the God that is. Impossible, yeah? Because in the moment that God there is tests you, it compartmentalizes its brain into billions of pieces and no longer occupy the wholeness that is the nature of its existence. Yeah, God can never for an instant test you. Yeah, you understand that that's the reason God can never test you, because if I were to have 1 degree of testing to see how you're doing, he will be coated with the very judgment that is testing you. And therefore, it will no longer be the God that is professing itself to be. Of course, God will never processes itself to be anything other than God. You know what I mean? You couldn't. Because everything that you process is to be something, you are not the very thing that you are professing yourself to be. Because the real thing is not a way to profess, you are you are, and the behavior, the experience, the ecstasy, the knowledge, the reason, the experiential, they come inside of that field that is not subject to the innocently give and take of evolutionary idea. Yes, no, no, yes, yes, no, no, yes, no, yes. It is the ever-present field.
And
So,
I liked how earlier you said there that, I mean, it sounds like you're personifying something as God, and the idea that God is just light and a field. I mean, that's who we are. You know, we're
yes.
a vibrational light field.
Yeah, but if you want to, you can really, you know, I decided to name God because I was very upset. 20 years ago, I became very upset when I gave it $1 to somebody and somebody said, God bless you. I said, oh shit, you know, now God, do you really believe that God is going to bless me because I give you $1? You know, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? But then I recognized that that was silly because the person was sort of innocent. He knew that if he tell me that God bless me, it's going to feel me good. And maybe next time I'll give you $10 instead of $1. Who knows? You know, whatever it was. But I recognized that we were coated with this sort of a trigger words, like I pray for you. You know, it's crazy. How can you pray with something that you are the prayer yourself? But the reason you say that pray for you is because you want to maintain the duality in which the prayer is being manifested. Okay. Innocent. It's all innocent because you get lost inside of that belief, and then that belief thinks you. You don't think anymore. You are become a trigger reflex of that. So when somebody is killing, somebody come and kill 10 people, they said, oh, now we have to really actually pray for blah, blah. Forget it. What are you talking about? In reality, what happened is that you have given possibility that can continue existing because you just decided, oh, I'm just going to throw it out to God because in reality, there is nothing I can do. You got to be kidding. You know, the reality is that you cannot, in the reality of God, you can never harm another human being. You never, because God will never do that. You can always protect everyone because the environment will be pristine because the mother is the planet. You know, everything is elementary Dr. Watson. Remember that movie, the Sherlock Holmes? It's elementary Dr. Watson. It means everything is already known. So what are you talking about? Just get off of it. You know, just be in the presence of your God self, which you are. And that's it, you know, and know that who you are is free senses. In order for to truly understand them, it has to be free part. That's the reason we made in the reality of 3 dimensions. You have to understand them as being what it is, as being the recipient of what it is, which is you in consciousness, and as being the spirit that created this beautiful, beautiful 3-dimensional world in which you are existing in the 3-dimensional universe. So you are the totality of free, never just the obsolescence, the obfuscation of one. Right. You are the totality of the free. And then when you are the totality of the free, then you are the one. But the one doesn't mean a contraction from everything. It's the one that is everything. So it is the unity of the Trinity. You are the unity of the Trinity. So that's the reason we kept saying, in order to know one, to know the nature of one, you have to know the nature of free, because one can only be comprehended through free. And then to really comprehend the nature of free, you have to know the nature of 10. Because the nature of 10 is the whole consciousness in which the free really can be fully comprehended, and from which oneness, it doesn't become an isolation, it becomes the actual unitary existence of the universe itself, not the unitary existence of yourself, the unitary existence of all things, because all things function in oneness, but we are in the realms of 3 dimensions, and will always be, we don't know, because, you know, we'll find out in the future. But right now, the realms of 3 dimension is the most magical world that we were given to us. You know, we live in the most magical world, in a planet suspended in the sky that exists inside of a garden effect, because we are inside of a system like a bubble that has a perfect weather, even though right now it's questionable and everything, the amount of light, the amount of water, everything grows, everything is pristine. We were put it in the Garden of Eden, but what happened when we disconnected from the Garden of Eden, we didn't know that the planet Earth was the garden. So we just said, oh, this one we can really just mistreat it, because eventually when we go to heaven, we can be in the Garden of Eden in heaven. And this one, forget it. I can go burn everything, kill everything, do everything, because this one. And when we did that, our body just became sick, because we are the garden. We live in the, we've always been in the garden. We will always be in the garden. There is no other place in the garden, because the ultimate garden is the universe. So here we are. So anyway, but yeah,
Question.
2 minutes more.
I love the thought and the feeling of God is not duality. And I love that whole essence of thought. So how do you answer someone who is saying and living in duality? Like, I don't go to church. Oh my goodness, you're gonna go to hell.
No. You can never do that.
How do you answer someone that is living in duality?
You very, very important. There is. I will make it simple to comprehend, but this is a very important question, because everybody has that question. Is that you've forgotten who you are when you're having that question. You're innocently forgotten who you are, because if you are the Messiah and you are, you are who you are. I mean, not the Messiah as the one who's going to save the world. If you are the Christ, not the one who belongs to the Christ. If you are the Buddha, not the one that is going to go to all the. If you are the real essence of you, everyone in your presence is going to become better, but you don't have to pay attention to them too much inside of the drama, because you know that the drama is undoing itself constantly. It's never fixated. Whatever is going on is undoing itself to be able to come into its essence through the reality of the consciousness and through the reality of you and the spirit, the free, again, if you want to put it, the free aspects of you. Because it's very difficult for us to think about, like, for example, let's say, for example, I know that I am the Messiah, that I am Christ. But the reason I know that is because I understand that the intelligence of that consciousness and the reality of the kingdom of heaven being present, and all the values that we talk about, they were very hawky about, like putting one side and letting the other one or whatever. All those were really silly, but in that time, everything was so basic that only through fear you can assist somebody perhaps to wake up, maybe. We don't know, because that was 2,000 years ago. But now you cannot say that. I could never, because in reality, everybody is becoming free by the very nature of your presence. And that's something that you have to deal with it, because remember that the human inside of the evolutionary nature, it will never acknowledge that you are the thing that you're worshiping, ever. You couldn't, because that's sacrilegious. And then you innocently use the distance between that understanding, that's sacrilegious, to remain in the same place that you'll always be, to justify your existence in a physical world that is transient inside of this experience. So you are the very thing. So it's giving yourself permission. I gave myself permission to be all those things, because I know that I am much more than those things. The essence that I am is much more, but it's not aggrandizing more, much more in relation to wholeness and reality, that the symbols that I created externally to divert me from innocently not be able to know the truth of the reality itself, which is all there is God, all there is love, all there is beauty, all there is balance, all the things that we are surrendered by, and now we are. The physical body, it is the tree of life, it is a vehicle of light, because it's a vehicle of consciousness. So as we understand it and we practice and we connect with the connections and the connection, all of it, everything becomes more and more connected, and our brain releases the compression that sometimes is a memory of the genetical code that we are releasing in order for us to be able to be in the presence of that which you already have, but we don't know that we have it as it becomes really actualized by our consciousness. Once your consciousness said, oh, I got it, that's it. You may have to go to 3 or 4 times. Sometimes it takes 1, sometimes it takes 4 times, whatever, until eventually you said, oh, I got it, that's it. And then your mind became transformed. Your reality and the world changes because you are synchronized with everything. It means that everything in the reality itself was preordained to give you the reflection of your own perfection.
Well, Christian,
Everything was preordained. Yeah, preordained means there was existing within the original imprint of wholeness.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. But to
Yes.
build on what Beverly had brought up, I got to call myself out. Okay.
You what?
Because, I want to live in this, but let's put it this way. And I don't want to live in judgment, but let me put it out there, right? But sometimes when I see like our past president not creating a unified and harmony in our world, sometimes I get so upset and I get judgment, right?
I understand. Yeah, but it's all right. You can be upset. It's okay. That's nice for you to be upset because you understand.
How do I just,
Well,
we don't want to have judgment, but it happens, right, Beverly? And then people go, so you got to go, okay, love is love is love. I love you. Okay. The answer is love. Okay. But sometimes too, we got to deal with this guilt with us for having that judgment because we don't want to be judgment. We want to do that.
No.
Stuff happens. That's real.
Okay, so let's clarify just this, and then we complete. Okay, let's clarify. Love is not a goopy goo 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 goo. I love you. I love you.
Okay.
That's not it. Okay, you understand already. Love is total in conceptual intellect. Love and physical existence. In relation to physical existence, divine, Cynthia Divine, you have to understand that. Let's put it for an example for Trump. I mean, and I don't want to talk about that because when you start entering that, forget it. The whole world just becomes like. But I'm going to do it because you asked it, and I have to honor it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it for a second. There in the human existence, there was something about power, and power was a form of controlling people through fear. So when you create a system that uses fear to control people, then you have their agreement because you promise that you're going to give them something that you can never give, because you can never give anything if you are in that controlling nature. So Trump, as it came into the presence of the government, it was a distorted person that its whole reality was based in the idea that he was the only one who had the power to change and transform everything. And that the only way to get power is to create separation. So once you create division, then you have the power, because everything becomes involved in the drama of division and bypass the very core of what you're trying to do, which is get power. So what Trump did that.
Power by division.
Power
by division.
Yes, power about division. But then what he did, it was more, because in reality, he was like an angel in some degree, and that's the reason you can forgive him. He was an angel in the sense that it took from the human inside of the story that we have, all the things that we have that we constantly were keeping it, mashing it by not letting. Please, I'm not a racist. Oh, I don't know what happened with gay or movement or whatever. I'm not rich or poor. Blah blah blah. All the dualities got really mashed inside of. Oh, we live in Pleasantville. Let's continue living in Pleasantville, and let's continue to live forever and everything else, because we don't want to get into the conflict, into the judgment. So he brought from the core of ourselves all the things that they were making us sick, that we needed to re-see and see it. We need to see, for example, that each of us, all of us, were really racist. That it was imprinted within the evolutionary conscience, the survival of the species. So he brought all those aspects that now are surfacing, and this is like, it seems to be like the most immediate moment of separation, but in reality, it's a moment in which we all awakening. Okay, so we're going to have, in reality, if we're really going to have the Constitution of the United States, and we're going to have what we're really thinking about, that is democracy. You can't have democracy and separation. Democracy means one. It means that every single being was created in order to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what we said, right? That everybody counts, that everybody is. So you can't say inside of that, oh no, but these people cannot practice that because they don't have enough education. They are coming from another country. They are really from another race. They don't believe in God as much as I believe. They are really actually weird because it seems to be that they love the same sex. But you can't do that. So the whole country in this moment, through you and through me, are becoming awake and I said, democracy is not a paper. The Constitution is not a paper. It's really actually an understanding of reality itself. So are we going to really just say, okay, it doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. No, but you don't have, doesn't mean that you have to go on the street and kill them all, right? It means that you understand, that you live the idea that democracy is not the Constitution of the United States. Democracy is the natural expression of unity, in which everyone has the brilliancy, the experience, everything to participate in a co-creative existence that in reality is the new world. The new world is called co-creative, but it's a definition, but co-creative means that everyone participates, which is already happening. But the complexity that the participation in the now, innocently, out of the complexity of all things, is still divided. I don't want to take the vaccine. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. All that crazy because the mind innocently lost the capability momentarily because of regaining it to recognize that we are all one. And when in some degree, I create any degree of separation, I create sickness with everyone and I become sick myself and I bypassing democracy, which is not, it wasn't an American invention. Democracy came into the human evolutionary moment as a preparation for the completion of the harmonic convergence. So democracy was the zenith of all the civilizations, because remember that all the civilizations, they were very expanded, but they were very, very troubled and suffered a lot in the physical world. So we haven't had a human civilization yet in which oneness, it was real. We never had it. This is the first time.
So this is the beauty of coexistence?
The beauty of coexistence is the reality of the new conscious and the present now. And already we are in it. So that's it. Nobody can kill democracy. They're not going to be able to. But it's important for us to understand that democracy it's not a modality of consciousness. Unity is all that. So when we take it outside of that possibility of the two-side awareness, we in reality dissolving and assisting the consciousness to become free from the concreteness of its own incarceration they created in order to survive. Yeah. So I love you. I adore you. I'm sorry that I got involved in all this. Not I'm sorry, but you are. Okay, you are. In reality, the new consciousness is not goopy. It is the true intelligence of creation and not goopy. Love is not relative. It is all there is. In physical reality, it is the only reality that you have. This is not a rehearsal. This is, yeah. You are the show, and you are the primal act of it. You are the original actor in your own movie. But you are partaking of the greater movie that is all things. Because if you don't, you're innocently you're gonna crash eventually. Innocent. You don't need to do that. That's the reason I can't say that because that's ridiculous. So anyway, ask me next time if it's possible that I need to explain a little bit, if you would like me to. But I don't want to get too much involved in time because the time is gone. I would like you to ask me, how can I live, with the same question, how can I live in the physical world and be in the full spectrum of the consciousness without judgment, without getting into the color of grasses, and to be able to partake of any aspect of reality without judgment?
Okay.
So ask me that time, listen to that, because this is important, yeah? All right, I adore you. You are absolutely fantastic. Everything is great.